Hello everybody, so today I'm going to be revisiting the Comanche Commander 2 Megapops challenge that I did recently and failed, but this time we're going to be beating it, and we're going to be doing it in a super funky way. So I basically mentioned this other approach that I actually originally thought of but rejected because I thought it just would not be as good. You'd probably steal way too many pops in the early and mid game, which kind of is true. A lot of pops are stolen, but basically the whole idea as I speed through this early and mid game is that I'm going to ice platform on the top, which might sound super weird to most people, especially if you've played Sanctuary before, but basically there's two water spots up there and then like a large amount of land, but you can't get a heli and a village, or like an ace and a village, like two large towers in there, unless you actually ice platform and turn that water into land, making like that a pretty large substantial platform where you can get like an ice and the village and heli or all of that. So basically what we have to do is we have to get an early game defense that will go all the way into 40, so I can spend like $4,000 on an ice monkey that will be doing nothing, then buy the heli and somehow beat the Moab on round 40, and then recover from that, getting Comanche defense still in time with like a whole $4,000 cash negative, and then recovering that run without stealing that many pops, which might sound insane, and that's originally why I rejected it, but apparently that's the way we've got to do this, because what this does is it does a lot for me late game, and it's necessary in the late game. So basically for the early game, I'm going with one mortar, one dart lane, and some Geraldo items. Try to spend as little on Geraldo items as possible. This actually is the first attempt, well, I guess the second attempt of the whole challenge, but the first attempt of this approach. It ends up failing in the late game, but I rerun it. I don't have the recording of the early and mid game for that rerun, but in the rerun I cut a few upgrades and use a lot less Geraldo items to make it a lot more efficient. But this basically is like the kind of same idea. So I just have the ice platform up there, and now we get the village, and I have to squeeze out Comanche defense by round 49, and now I can village buff the heli, which is really cool. I also can alk buff the heli, which is a nice bonus. It's not the biggest thing in the world because it is a Comanche commander, or Comanche defense, but it's something I can do, and I go for that. I also have a village buff on like the glues too, not that big of a deal. But the biggest reason for this is I'm going to get MIB on the Comanche commander. Now, you might think, well, wouldn't you need MIB on it anyway so it can pop DDTs? Well, no, not really, because I had Glue Storm, which allows it to pop DDTs, so then why would I need MIB on the village? And that's because I'm replacing Glue Storm with Absolute Zero, which is a significantly better tower in 2 Megapop challenges. And before I could not do that because Absolute Zero would make all the Moabs frozen, and then the Comanche defense or Comanche commander, whatever, would not be able to pop them, and yeah, then it would just be a big issue. So with all of this hassle in early game that you just saw there, and getting a pretty late Comanche commander, I think I ended up getting out like 78, I think, both times, like the start of round 78. So that's pretty late. I had to squeeze through like so many very weird and tricky rounds in the mid game with just the defense and the glue strike. Especially rounds that are long were really terrible because the mini helis would just go away and then you just have like nothing. And also in the second attempt, I tried cutting down the amount of times I used the Jerry Fire because Jerry Fire is expensive and I kind of want as much money as possible in the late game too. But anyways, with that, we eventually get Comanche Commander, and I'm in a much better spot for the late game than as I was in that first video. And if you remember in the first video, we got to round 78 and got brutally destroyed. Like, it was not close. I had to use like 4 Maelstroms to beat 78, and then 100. I also had no money. I had to use like a bunch of genies. I was over 120k pops off. So we're really gonna have to get so much optimization in on this, and that's, I guess, what I do here. It is a pretty crazy run, and this also kind of reminds me how bad at 2 Megapops I am, because it's like I see like insane stuff that other people are doing, and then I'm struggling on this one too. But anyways, maybe it'll get better. I think I'm just like very rusty at 2 Megapops challenges. I probably should do more of them. So one also thing that I changed from this run to the optimized one. I think that the optimized one, I come in showing that from round 78 when I buy the Comanche Commander, will be right after this. I also buy Absolute Zero at the top because I tested it and it doesn't really steal that too many pops. Like, it steals a bit of pops, but not really enough that it would be warranted spending so much more money, like another 4,000 something on ice, and I kind of need that cash, as you will see in the late game, so it's good that I did that. Anyways, I'm gonna put on some music and come back in a moment. So this is where the second of 3 attempts, including the first one that failed horribly that I posted already, ends. We got to 98, and there's just not enough. I believe this 98 is possible with a ton of RNG and a ton of micro, but I can guarantee that 100 is not happening because I do need a redo for 100, and I also need a substantial amount of cash. So that's where I said I know I can't have Absolute Zero down there. I need to save the money, and it looked like it would have worked out. It's going to be close, but we're going to make it work. On top of that, I also do some optimizations in the early game, save some money, and it's time to push on with the Comanche Commander. So I kind of like ran down what I'm doing in that first split of commentary, so I'm just going to come back at the end. Another big thing I changed is getting call to arms before absolute 0, so that on round 95 I could actually beat it without using a reju. For 95 specifically, the call to arms is way better. The absolute 0 isn't that great against 95 because more DDTs just come out than it can handle. It does pretty well on 99, but its main point of attack is taking out the, well, not taking out, like significantly slowing down BFBs and COMGs. So that's a big thing that it does. And now that we have call to arms and absolute 0, I can take on round 98. Now the funny thing is that on round 98, typically you'd use the totems and all to slow and knock things back. But I had auto start on here and 98 started, so like I'm like, I'll just see what goes on. And I actually just beat it first try without like any totems. So that was really weird, but I guess I did that. 99 went down first try. A lot of these rounds like in the late game pretty easy. Anyways, for 100, what I did was I did Imbrit up there and Spike Storm, use the Glue Strike, use the Spike Storm, really have to knock this thing down, and then I can use my Rejuve and freeze everything and now take down the rest. And I was looking at the pop count, I was like, this is kind of low. I pause it and I'm like, that's really low, and I do the stupidest thing ever and go back into the game, to which I do succeed by the tiniest little bit. That was not a risk worth taking. That easily could have been a disaster, but I guess I won, so yeah.
Thanks for watching. If you want to help out the channel, you can check out these new videos, like and subscribe for more content, support the channel by becoming a member, and joining the Discord to chat with the community. Bye!